We'll start off. Okay, now we'll start off. We'll start off with the Dvar Torah for you in honor of Yom Yrushalayim and Yom Hebron, right? Forget that it's Yom Hebron. I just want to say that in my my high school, my very Beis Yaakov, very Haredi high school, we celebrated Yom Yrushalayim, and I actually spoke to many women, former teachers, retired teachers from what's called the Seminar HaKadosh in Yrushalayim, where I taught, and I taught in the, they have a special program for their retired teachers, and they all said they all celebrated Yom Yrushalayim, both as children and as adults, and it's not like it's a beautiful, beautiful day. And I heard a great word from Noam Yakovson that I want to share from you, and he moved his capital from Hebron to Yrushalayim, right? Hebron is Ir HaAvot. All the Avot are buried there. And one of the reasons why, and those of you who learn Shoftim here and Sefer Shoftim here in the Bas Medrash will relate to this, and that is that there was a tremendous rift in Klal Yisrael between the Shevet of Yehuda, which David HaMelech is from, and the Shevet of Binyamin, the children of Leah versus the children of Rachel. There was a civil war right at the end of Sefer Shoftim, the very tragic end to Sefer Shoftim, the story of the Pilegesh Begiva, and all of those horrible, horrible stories that happened afterward. And one of the things that David HaMelech wanted was Shevet. And he's the king for every single Shevet. The Bnei Rachel, right? He'll be concerned about them, and just like he'll be concerned about his own brothers. So he moved his capital from Hebron, which is deep, right, in the land of Yehuda, to the border, which is Yrushalayim, right? Even part of the Beit Hamikdash was in the Nachla of the Bnei Rachel, right, of Binyamin, Yosef, and actually Beis Lechem, right, where Rachel Imenu is buried. That was a gift that Shevet Yehuda gave to Shevet Binyamin in order to make peace between them, because it's Beis Lechem Yehuda, right? It belonged to Yehuda. So David HaMelech purposely moved from Hebron, which is also a lashon of chibur, of connection, the place where Olam Hazeh meets Olam Haba. But he said, instead of meeting Olam Hazeh and Olam Haba that way, we're going to lichaber Yrushalayim Ki'ir Shechubra La Yachdav. It's the city which connects people, which will connect all of Klal Yisrael, which will show them that we're all Ka'ish Echad, B'lev Echad, we're like one person in one heart, and therefore he moved his capital to Yrushalayim. So Yrushalayim is not just arbitrarily some city, right? It is the city which connects the souls of Klal Yisrael. It is the city which brings to us unity. And isn't it beautiful that it falls out so few days right before Matan Torah, Ki'ish Echad, B'lev Echad, because the whole inyan of Yrushalayim is to unite. What's the inyan of a capital city? A capital city, this is our center, this is our merkaz. It says in Tehillim, I remember when I had my first Israeli baby in Yrushalayim, right? I said this a pasuk to the Mialedet, right? Ish yulad ba. Everybody claims they're born in Yrushalayim. Everyone's Teudat Zehut, you can stamp, including your American passport, right? You can have it stamped, where were you born? Yrushalayim, right? Because every person's soul has a deep connection to Yrushalayim. So those that were mamish born in Yrushalayim, they could say it too. But even us, who we weren't born in Yrushalayim, we were born in Chutz La'aretz, wherever we were born in Tzfat, we were born in Hebron, wherever we were born. Ish yulad ba. David HaMelech says that in Tehillim, every man can claim that he was born in Yrushalayim. So with that, we'll go back to Shir HaShirim. And we have a nice background, very, very nice background music. Okay. It's okay, right now we're maybe not, it's a nice breeze. If no one, oh, that's from the fan? I only felt it when the door opened though. Okay, so we learned Shir HaShirim Asher LeShlomo, okay? And this is Kodesh Kodashim, Shir HaShirim is the Holy of Holies. I don't remember if I mentioned that actually hide it. They wanted to bury the book of Shir HaShirim because they were afraid that people would misconstrue it, misunderstand it. It was interesting. There used to be, and I say used to, I don't know what changed, but there used to be a chayrim that you weren't allowed to sing songs from Shir HaShirim. You weren't allowed to take a pasuk from Shir HaShirim and turn it into a song. At least somebody misinterpret the holiness. But lately, everybody from all spectrums of the world, right, have been making songs from Shir HaShirim and using the psukim in Shir HaShirim. I don't know what changed that all of a sudden that happened, but that's the reality. Perhaps it's our generation and our need to experience through. Could be, I don't know.
Maybe because of the starting, they sing it.
But they also used to not make songs from it. They had their tune. Ashkenazim also had a tune for it, right? But it wasn't made into songs, right?
Yeah, Shoshie Nissenbraum-Goldstein.
That's not a direct quote, though. And that wasn't made by religious people, right?
Okay.
At least I don't think it was. But it's not a direct quote. It's based on Shir HaShirim. It's not quoting the psukim of Shir HaShirim.
It's interesting that Shir HaShirim and Zohar, they both use the same language of
love.
Yeah, physical love.
Yep.
In Yrushalayim, there's
What?
You want to
Just a little bit. Pasuk Beis last week, and we said that historically this is a reference to Matan Torah, where we ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu to reveal himself to us in the highest revelation possible, like he did on Har Sinai, where HaKadosh Baruch Hu spoke to us peh el peh, like we heard HaKadosh Baruch Hu's voice, whatever that means for the first two dibros. And then what did we do? We made a huge mistake and we said, wait, this is too much, too intense, right? We want to hear through Moshe Rabbeinu, and Moshe Rabbeinu gave over the 8 dibros, and we're asking, we're acknowledging that was a really horrible mistake, right? We want direct connection. We want the highest level possible. We want mimi tov lilmod, mincha or mitalmidecha. That's what the Rashi says in Dvarim. Who is it better to learn from you or from your Talmud? No, Hashem, we want direct connection. We want complete and direct connection. Open up all of the pathways. We want the highest possible consciousness that a person could have. And we also pointed out what's the difference between a hug and a kiss. A hug is embracing the physical, demonstration of love for the physical, whereas a kiss is a completely spiritual act. It is the joining of the two souls, the peh, the mouth. This is what we ended off with quickly last week, right? The mouth is the portal of the soul, and therefore, well, there's a chair here, and there's one chair here. The mouth is the portal of the soul, right? We went back to Bereshis, where it says that when Hashem created man, HaKadosh Baruch Hu vested within him a breathing soul. And the Targum Yonasan says, what does that mean, a breathing soul? Ruach mimalmela. This is the way the soul expresses itself in speech, in prayer, in song, right? In hitbodedut, in private conversation between a person and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That is the great expression of the soul. Okay, and if we look at man versus animals, right? Well, animals, some animals, birds, right? They have very nice songs. Okay, we're zoche to hear a lot of those songs, even though we live in a city. We also get a lot of beautiful songbirds here. Okay, they have songs, but those songs are instinct, right? There's a difference between the communication of an animal and the communication of a human, right? I don't think that, animals in the animal kingdom, even extremely expressive animals, and there are animals like monkeys who are extremely expressive with affection. They have not yet written any poems. First grade level writings, right? Okay, they can't. That's not their communication is instinct. Whereas our communication comes from a creative place, comes from an expressive place, comes from a unique place, right? All forms of art, okay, which are expression is an art, prayer is an art, song is an art. All of that is what makes us human. It comes straight from the soul. So the connection, when a kiss from mouth to mouth, right, is a kiss of the joining of two souls. Okay, so we're asking HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we want our soul to be intertwined with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? We don't want a separation. We don't want a mechitza. We don't want any distance. We want the highest consciousness and the highest experiential experience. That's a word, right? Can you say experiential experience? Okay. And what? Dveikut, exactly. Dveikut. I think that's even the word that the Alshech-Kadosh uses. It is. Okay. Almost towards the end of the Alshech. He says, Israel echad after Klal Yisrael was separated from Hashem, whether we're talking about the separation at Matan Torah, when we no longer heard Hashem's voice after the two dibros, or we're talking about the separation of us going into Gullus, or we're talking about the separation of last week, or it was last week, I don't even remember what day we're today. But last week, when if you were in Meron, I personally wasn't, but if you were in, you had tremendous dveikos, and then you landed, right? You came back to reality, you had to make Shabbos, okay, and you had all your guests, and whatever you were doing, right? That separation. Okay, because we have on a daily basis, we get close, we separate, we get close, we separate, right? Because we're human beings, just like our ancestors, just like we were also at Matan Torah. And when things get too intense, what do we say? This is too intense, right? So HaKadosh Baruch Hu did us a favor by putting us into this very physical world where things get too intense. We have buffers, right? We actually have to eat, so we have to prepare the food, we have to shop for the food. You know, it was amazing. Last night I counted the Omer, and I'm like, oh my God, we're in the 7th week. That means that Shavuos is right around the corner. You know, Pesach doesn't come by surprise, but we count for Shavuos, and somehow it comes by surprise, right? Except for my friends who already made their cheesecakes and everything's in their freezer, right? This lady did not. Okay. Vihine, what?
You have to listen to last week's shiur when you said we have to do what we can.
What we can do.
Everybody else.
That one not happening by me, right? Okay, good thing that we have good bakeries here. So when we're separated from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when all the tzaras find us in Golos, and it comes up to here, right? We're sinking, we're drowning in pain, in confusion, in darkness. What do we call out? We ask from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you know what I want right now? I don't want coffee. I don't want chocolate. I don't want anything, any pleasures of this world. You know what I want? I don't even want to get drunk, right? I don't want anything that will take my mind off of you. I want you. I don't want any comfort food. I don't want any comforts that this world has to offer. It's not a comfort. The only comfort is you. Who dveikus yisparach is the word that, can you remind me what your name is? I forgot. Ruth Hadassah said, dveikus, right? What are we asking for from HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Dveikus, dveikus. It reminds me of a story when my second son turned 3, so we took him to Rabbi Shimon. We did the chalakah there. And then I took him to the Koisel like a day or two later. I said to him, you could ask Hashem for whatever you want. You could ask Hashem for Mashiach. You could ask Hashem to have Midos Tovos. You could ask Hashem to be healthy. You could ask Hashem to be smart. You could ask Hashem, all these things. Whatever you want, you ask from Hashem. And this 3-year-old kid, he turns to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and he says, Hashem, Kavili Mastikim, give me gum, right? That's what he wants, right? So that's a 3-year-old, okay? Now the question is, are we different than the 3-year-old, right? Do we call out to Hashem and we say, well, what's mastic to us? What's mastic? Mastic was the forbidden fruit, right, in my house. I let my kids have mastic because I didn't like cleaning it off their pants and my floor and wherever else I found it, okay, till mastic was banned, okay? So what do we want? If we ask Hashem for one thing, a friend of mine one time pointed out something to me and I was like, wow, that's like, how do we not ever think of that before? She says people do sgulot, right? They do, it was the Zvila Rebbe's Yortzat on Shabbos, right? How many people do Monday, Thursday, Monday, right? That they go to his kever. How many people say Shir HaShirim 40 days in a row? How many people say Nishmas 40 days in a row, right? And what do we say it for? For Shalema, for Parnasa, for Zivuk Hagun. She said to me, how come we don't do it for Mashiach? How come we don't say Shir HaShirim 40 days in a row, or Nishmas 40 days in a row, or do Monday, Thursday, Monday, Thursday, Monday, Thursday, whatever, however it works, right? All those, how come we don't do it for one thing and one thing only? Hashem, I don't know whatever. I mean, we all want Parnasa, we all want Zivuk Hagun for our children, for our
problem though, because if you have to believe that Mashiach is coming any minute right now, then you can't do it for 40 days. Then you can say that.
I don't think it's a problem. We already know that Mashiach is going to come with you on time because he's not Heimish, right? Because
Also, if you did 40 days for Shidduch and on the third or fourth day, it came, you wouldn't say, "Whoa, wait, I didn't finish." You know,
you have to finish.
Yeah, but you wouldn't
Right,
say,
right.
"Wait, put off the Shidduch."
Nachon. I would hope not. Although you never know. People have very interesting ideas about those things. I was one time in a Rav's office, and somebody called the Rav, and he said, Rebbe, I don't know what to do. Today I started learning Maseches Nezikin, which is the Mishnayos, which talk about damages and the penalties for inflicting damages. And I got into a car accident and I slammed into somebody else's car. Do you think that it's a simon from Hashem that I shouldn't learn Maseches Nezikin? So the Rav said, no, it's Dafka simon. You should learn Maseches Nezikin. He said, so what is if somebody goes on a date, they should never learn and they're in shidduchim, they shouldn't learn Maseches Gittin, right? They shouldn't learn, like we don't do that kind of stuff, right? We don't go there, but you never know. Some people might. Anyways, so Dveikus, we're asking here, we're pleading here for Dveikus. So if we have one request, Achat Sha'alti, David HaMelech, when he has his one request, right? He doesn't say Hashem give me mastikim, right? Or the adult version of Hashem give me mastikim, which I think Hashem give me mastikim as the adult version is Hashem give me peace and quiet, right? I just want peace and quiet. I don't want any nisyono today. I don't want any trouble. I don't want any of my kids calling me for money. I don't want any Rebbes calling me today to complain about my kids, right? I just want one thing, peace and quiet. I don't want the bank calling me. I don't want the neighbors calling to complain. No, I just want peace and quiet. That's our adult version of Hashem give me mastikim, right? So instead of that, here in this pasuk, Klal Yisrael is saying what? Hashem, we want one thing. Achat sha'alti meis Hashem. I'm going to keep repeating because I had that just one request, and that request is you. There's a beautiful story of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, that a couple who did not have children for 10 years, and we used to keep this halacha. We do not, and it says in the Shulchan Aruch that we don't keep this halacha anymore, but it used to be that we kept the halacha that if a couple was married for 10 years and they didn't have children, right, the man had to divorce his wife. Now, by the way, just Amar Hamuzgar, in parentheses, the reason why the man had to divorce his wife is because the woman has a right to have a child, and it's assumed that if a couple doesn't have children after 10 years, the halacha tells us it's the man's fault, and he can't stop his wife from having the children.
Yeah.
That's what many.
40% of the time it is the man's fault. I mean, biologically.
The Seder Gamor. Okay. Oh, come on, it's always the man's fault. Yeah.
I think it's mom's fault.
Something like that, right? It depends who you ask, right? If you ask mommies, it's always the man's fault. If you ask man, it's always the woman's fault, right? That's what Adam Arishon said. Ha'isha asher nasat tabi, right? The woman that you gave me, and we do the same. Okay, it's
the man that
to
does the
study. He has the chiyuv, but a woman has the right to want to have children. It's called chutra liyada, that she wants someone to be with her in her old age, and she wants to have a child, so she can demand a divorce, and he has to give it to her. And he has to pay her ksuba, and he has to pay whatever she wants. Okay, and not whatever she wants, but within the halacha of her rights. We're not having a shir and Eben Hazer. Okay, so the couple, they were married for 10 years. They didn't have any children. And they come to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and they say, okay, we're going to get divorced. And it's heartbreaking for us. What should we do? So Rabbi Shimon said to them, listen, you should get divorced. But just like you made this really nice party when you got married, you should make this really nice party when you get divorced. Now, I do presents and I'm sad, a lot of getting, right? And usually I see people making, some people, not all, actually a very small percentage of people actually make a party, right? Afterwards. And usually that's not with the other person that they just divorced from, right? It's with their friends, it's with their friends. So Rabbi Shimon says to them, you know what, you make a big party, just like when you got married, make a divorce party. And they actually, by the way, you can look see it on Amazon. They have plates for the occasion, special divorced, yes, like party favors and paper plates and napkins and cups and whatever, believe it or not. Free at last, all kinds of things. Okay, and it's terrible, okay? It's absolutely terrible. Okay, no comment on what I think about that. So, which is a comment. In any event, so Rabbi Shimon said, to them, go ahead, make a party. And all right, that's kind of awkward, right? Could you imagine, Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so Cohen and Mr. and Mrs. David invite you to the divorce of their children, which the pre-party will take place at our home, right? We're registered here because we need a lot of stuff now because we're getting divorced, right? So we can't, it's very hard to split one couch. So now we need a couch and now we need a second set of dishes. So here's our registry list. And, please come on time. It will be before Shkia, right? Okay, so everyone comes to this party and it's in his house. It's in his house. And they have this great party. And Mr. gets quite drunk, okay? And why he's a little drunk, he says, listen, you're going home to your father's house. You could take anything you want from my house, right? Any of our artwork, any of our silver, besides what you're already taking with you, what we agreed upon, take whatever you want. And he wakes up the next morning, and where is he? In his shver's house, his father-in-law's house, right? You imagine finally, at least you're getting rid of something, right? You wake up, you're in your shver's house, and he looks up and he's like, what am I doing here? How did I get here? She says to him, you told me I could take whatever I want. You are what I want. And they went back to Rabbi Shimon. They said, we can't get divorced, right? We can't get divorced. And Rabbi Shimon blessed them, they would have a child, and they had children after. Now, the question is, though, why did Rabbi Shimon just give them a bracha when they came to him, right? They came to him. He could have said, may you be blessed with a child, don't get divorced. What was the point of this whole get party, right? And this, public announcement and all this. What was the point? Well, I think that the answer is very obvious, right? It was me'orer, the separation, the pirud was me'orer the dvekas. The separation pointed out that, we cannot live, all the stuff in the world, it doesn't matter. If I don't have you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in my life, then nothing that I have matters. If it's wealth, if it's health, if it's success, if it's social status, whatever we have is worthless if we don't have it with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If we are not partners, literally, with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, feel his presence. And that's, how we end up getting to jealousy and to all the other bad midos that we're learning about in Pirkei Avos right now. It's when we have good, because we all have good, but we're not having it with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The good is not the tachlis. The good is not the point, even if we like it, right? And who doesn't like good? We all like good. We're supposed to like good. But if the good is not with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, if it's not conscious with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's not clinging with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's never going to satiate us. It's never going to make us happy. Today, where everyone is very into children have to be happy, right? We want our children to be happy. We want our children to be happy. It's very important that children be happy. It's very important that we be happy. We need to be happy, happy, happy. The problem is that happiness, right, doesn't just we're going to be happy. Giving people things doesn't make them happy, right? Winning the lottery does not make people happy, although I'd like to find out, right? It doesn't make a person happy, okay? It doesn't. Having all the good in the world does not make people happy. What makes people happy is when they can attach the good they have and see it as HaKadosh Baruch Hu being with them. And so a person could be blessed and be so blessed, but if they don't have the dveikos with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, they will never be happy, right? They won't. They just won't. That's we're seeing that our generation, if we look at the Goyim and the whole world and also us, right? We see we have never been so blessed, right? When we talked about poverty 60 years ago, what did poverty mean 60 years ago? Barefoot, right? No shoes for the children, okay? Literally, what did they have now it's already 70 years ago, right? 70 something years ago in this country, right? What was there to eat? Chatzilim, right? I helped my friend clean out her father's apartment after he passed away. And we found there, he was a collector. He was also a historian, but he was a really big background. And we found there his Senate cards from when right before there were these ration cards from when the country was established, 1948. From 1947, right before, till around 1952, there were ration cards, right? And everybody was limited. And the only thing that there was on these ration cards, which is what there was to eat, was bread, which was scarce. I think it was 1 egg per person 1 week, if I remember correctly. 6 eggplants, right? That's all there was. Eggplants. A little bit of milk, and a few other things. Oil, like salt, everything was rationed. I don't remember that. I could be that was there. I don't remember. I just remember the chatzilim. I was like, wow, that's a lot of chatzilim. And that's what there was to eat, right? When we talk about poverty now, what are we talking about? What?
They had a little bit of sugar, a little bit of sugar,
a little bit of salt, a little bit of coffee. It was all rationed out. When we talk about poverty today, what are we talking about?
At the age of travel to wine or somewhere. We're talking about starving ourselves.
Right? We're not talking about starving ourselves anymore, right? We're not talking about, okay, maybe you get clothes from a gemach, yad shniya, right? Or beged Yisrael. But we're not talking about literally having, I don't know anybody who's had 2 changes of clothes. One, and the poorest people that I know, they have more than 2 changes of clothes, not one for Shabbos, not one for the weekday, right? Poor people could have quite a few black skirts, right? We all have a bunch of them in our closet, right? Okay, so the level of poverty is totally different, completely different, right? Completely different. But yet, happiness is not completely different. If anything, it's the opposite. The more we have, the less happy people are, right? If you talk to any of your mothers, grandmothers, right? I had the schus of talking to my great-grandmother, right? My great-grandmother grew up in abject poverty. When I mean abject poverty, I mean poverty. They lived in Lithuania. They would have chicken only Friday night, right? She was the youngest of 13, okay? They also from 2 different mothers. She was from her father's first wife died, and he remarried my great-grandmother. So it was from 2, but 13 survived. Not the war, but not too many. But so they had 1 chicken for the whole family, 15 people, right? Friday night. So the way it worked is that, first the father, then the mother, then in order of age, everyone got to take. She said, if there was a wing left for me, that was like, wow, like I got a whole chicken, right? Amazing. Now, if you talk to her about her childhood, she had the best childhood, the most wonderful childhood, right? Amazing childhood. Her parents were the best in the world, right? Her brothers and sisters were wonderful. Her cousins were wonderful. Her grandparents, everybody was wonderful, right? Now, if you take the average kid off the street, right, and ask them, how was your childhood? It was tough. I was abused in school. And I'm not saying there aren't people who are abused, okay? There are people who are abused in school. And my parents didn't fulfill, they really didn't give me the love that I needed. And they really didn't, do what I, blah, 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 right? Now, why is that? Were they just living in cognitive dissonance then? I don't think so, right? I really don't think so. I think it was just a whole different outlook on life, completely outlook on life of what really matters and what really is important. And the more devekus we have, the more we are feeling HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the more happy we actually are. The Goyrel HaSheila lo arvu el libam lishol kamidbar neged panav lenoichach teshakeni min neshiko ispicha. And here Klal Yisrael, have, the Alshech says, like the nerve, so to speak, the nerve to ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Yishakeni min Neshikos people, right? A good chutzpah, right? Chutzpah could also be good, but it's a brazen, bold move, right? This is what I want. This is what I'm demanding. Just like they did in the Midbar. We're embarrassed sometimes to ask. We're embarrassed to really express what we really, really want. In front of everybody, like a boat in the middle of a storm. Asher, which is also, this is his bar. Remember, he always borrows words, so he's borrowing these words from Yeshayahu Hanavi. Asher shlucheh v'titmarmer al ba'ala ne'ureh v'tashiv amoreha lo b'mar ticha beina levein atzma. It's like she's in this middle of this emotional storm where she's really, what did I do? Right? When I said to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you know what, 2 dibros are enough. What did I do? What did I do? What did I do? You know that, well, how did I do that? And she's talking to herself and she's saying, Yishakeni min Neshikos piu. Halavai, I could go back in time, right? The time machine. Go back in time. I would never do that. What would I say to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? I would say, keep talking to me directly. Keep this dveikos. It's intense and it's getting more intense and more intense with each dibra. That's what I want. That's what I need.
They died, didn't they? They died.
Yeah.
They came back to life.
So they were supposed to.
They were resurrected.
Keep having
That experience, right? I don't know. Look, they're not. It's not like we were punished for it, right? But we're saying like, wow, how did I give up that experience? How did I pass on that?
But you're not supposed to voluntarily want to do things that kill you.
I think we can trust HaKadosh Baruch Hu that if he's, this is the way he's doing it, then that was, that was good, right? And we want that we could hear it and we could do it. The thing is, that's part of our problem, that we don't believe that we could reach such heights in the Vekas. My menahel, Rabbi Hillel Belsky, Zecher Tzadik Lebracha, used to say that one of the apikourses, the kfira, I need the word, so my dictionary, thank you. Blasphemy, thank you. One of the blasphemy of our generation is that not that we don't believe in God, we believe in God, we don't believe that we could reach such high heights, that we could live, we don't believe that we could actually refrain from speaking Lashon Hara. We don't believe that we actually could have really good midos. We don't believe that we could daven with kavana, right? Because we're all the ADD or we're all whatever. We have all our excuses of why we can't. We grew up different. So we can't reach such high heights, right? We can't do it. So that's part of one of our basic problems, is that we don't believe. Even the soul, when it's being sent down into the world, doesn't believe that it's going to be able to go, right? What is the Zohar HaKadosh says, that when HaKadosh Baruch Hu brings the soul and sends it into the world, we all know the famous song from Mordechai ben David, right? That the neshama doesn't want to go, right? And it says, please, no, I want to stay here. Why should I go into that world? It's based on the Zohar. The Zohar says that when Hashem takes the neshamas out of the heavenly storage house of neshamas, right? And is sending them into the world, tells them the pasuk, lech lecha, go, right? You're going to go on your journey. This is your journey. You're now leaving the place where you were created, where you were formed, from the house of your father, referring to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Then you're going to go. And at that point, HaKadosh Baruch Hu shows us what our mission in this world is going to be, right? And what is our reaction? I cannot do that, right? Not me, right? I can't do it. That's what, or as now we can say, because we're all Israelis, right? And the koach, like, I can't do that, right? That's so not happening. And we reject our mission, right?
Moshe Rabbeinu did the same thing.
Moshe Rabbeinu did the same thing. Yeshayahu did the same thing. Yirmiyahu did the same thing, right? Yonah Hanavi did the same thing. That's a great point, right? Everybody does it, right? It's part of our soul is to reject our mission, to say, I can't do that, right? That's not for me. I could never do that. I could never lead that life and stay good. I could never lead that life and find you there, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I can't do it. And what does HaKadosh Baruch Hu say? El ha'aretz asher areka. Oh, I'll show you that you can do it. I'll show you how great your soul can be. I'll show you that you can accomplish. I'll show you that you can raise these very difficult children. I can show you that you can go through these very difficult times in life. I can show you that you can have this, whatever, fill in the blank, challenge. Okay, I'll show you how you could do it. El ha'aretz asher areka. Oh, you're going to see how you're going to do it. Right? And then, and that's it, right? There's no exchanges, there's no refunds, there's no, in Mission Impossible, right? If you choose to accept this mission or don't, then this mission will self-destruct, right? There's none of that. This is our mission. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu shows us, look what you can do. Look who you could be. Look who you are. And we forget that, right? That's part of, the forgetting.
The light's too bright.
The what?
The light is too bright.
Yeah, fair. Rav Hutner has a great piece. This is a little bit off the topic, but maybe it's not. Rav Hutner has a great piece where he talks about if HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells us our mission, and he teaches us the entire Torah when we're in utero, but then we are tapped on the lip and we forget it. What's the point, right? What was the point of learning all of that Torah, of seeing our mission, if we forget it? And then he brings a Gemara which asks a great question. Zaken sheshachach talmudo, a wise man, a Talmud Chacham, a tzaddik, who forgot all of what he learned in his old age. Chayav lechabdo, are we obligated to respect him? The man is talking gibberish, right? Are we obligated to respect him? What's the answer? Yes, of course, right? That wasn't a hard question, right? What? So Rav Hutner says it's the same thing. Our souls were exposed to all of the Torah. We're all that zaken sheshachach talmudo, right? We're all that wise man who was exposed and learned deep in all the depths of Torah, right? And we forgot it. Chayav lechavdo. We're obligated to respect each other. And then he goes even deeper and he says, but why? What happened? And then he asks another question. He says, why was it so important that all of our souls be present at Matan Torah if we don't remember? And anybody who claims they remember being at Matan Torah, we lock them up next to Nachum Ishkanzu, right? So why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu gather our souls, expose us to Matan Torah, just for us to have another experience that we forget? And it's the same answer of Zaken Sheshach Talmudo, and why we are exposed and learn the deepest depths of Torah in utero. And the answer is because it makes a tremendous imprint on the neshama. And it's just like we know today that we actually don't forget anything, right? It's all stored somewhere in our brain.
And also that's why we're not hit on our head, we're hit on our mouth. So it's not that we forget how to express it. We forget how to get it out, but we still have it. I didn't make it up. I heard it. Yeah, I just heard it yesterday. So I was so excited.
Did you hear that? Yeah.
Do you know who said that? And do you know who said it?
Rav Benji Elson. I was in a class and he
So it makes an imprint on the neshama, and we know that we actually don't forget anything, right? We think we forgot. We forgot what we ate yesterday for breakfast. We forgot what we ate breakfast or not, but we actually did it. It's all imprinted in our mind. The question is, how could we retrieve it, right? Retrieve it. There are even and Saraya Yocheved Riegler wrote a book about this. I read an article that she wrote before she wrote the book. I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. But that through hypnotism, people can actually go into previous experiences, previous gilgulim that they had, and retrieve. And they have found that a high percentage of people who converted, they were souls that were in the World War II, in the Holocaust.
It's called Have I Been Here Before?
And at a certain point, they said in their experience, I wish I wasn't born a Jew.
Oh.
And part of their reincarnation was they wouldn't be born a Jew, and they would have to push hard to become Jewish again. And that was really, do you want her number? Anyone want her? Listen in the phone book. She doesn't do the hypnotism herself, but they've done studies and
It's not just hypnotism. You can do it with energy also. You can find out. And then they say, wow, I really feel that way. Like I've worked with people that also.
Well,
very interesting.
there's a man who used to be the head of Mount Sinai Hospital in Florida, the psychiatry. He didn't believe in, his name is Dr. Brian Weiss, and he's written many books.
Yeah.
I've read a few of his books. The first book I read was Many Lives, Many Masters, and you can't put the book down. It's just an amazing. Many Lives, Many Masters, Dr. Brian Weiss.
It's so, it's
Yeah.
like you cannot.
You can't put it
You
down.
can't believe what you're reading.
Yeah. And he went from being totally not having an open mind to it to, I mean, and he was afraid to express it to his colleagues.
Because they'll laugh at him.
But he had a woman who came to him, Catherine, and she was having depression. She was a beautiful young woman, and she had a depression, and there was no reason why she was so depressed. And so he thought, I would regress her to her childhood and through hypnosis. But she didn't go to her childhood; she went to another lifetime. And apparently, going through these other lifetimes, having these blocks of not knowing how to access what happened in a previous lifetime, and it's only back in this lifetime, actually remedies that if you can go back and access it, and then symptoms work. But he was giving her therapy for 2 years and recorded every session, and he couldn't deny that. She didn't just go back to one lifetime; she went to all lots of lifetimes, and she could not have known the things that she was expressing. She was not, she didn't have the knowledge of history to know what she was saying.
Yeah, I had a client.
Open up language. She didn't know that.
Oh, wow.
But don't you think that there might have been spirits around with other people who lived before, and they're transmitting the stories to her while she's in that state, and it wasn't actually her experience, it was the spirits of other forces or other people.
We'll never know for sure, but it doesn't
You're right, it's
seem.
the same idea.
Shoshie,
Rabbi
Shoshie?
Pinson, Rabbi, yes.
I 10 years ago was watching the History Channel all the time about the the Holocaust, and it came to the point where I would be. It went on for months, and I was crying, and it was just months and months of it. And my family blocked me from the history, banned me completely from the History Channel. I was there, it was so. And that went on for a long time, and my family just had to stop me. They couldn't have me near the TV. I wasn't allowed it. I wasn't allowed to be anywhere near. So there you go.
Rabbi Pinson also has a very good book on Gilgulim, and a very, very interesting book. What is it called? I think Gilgulim, something like that.
Rabbi.
Yeah, very, very good book.
I remember having a client who they always felt like we were choked and like suffocated, and I'm like, oh, you were just like buried alive.
Okay. So let's finish up the. What time is it? How much more time do we have?
49.
11:40. Great. We'll finish up the Alshech. Okay. Sometimes a person is embarrassed, right, to be able to say straight out, this is what I want, this is what I really want, this is all I am about. And this is what she's saying. She's saying, who's going to make it go back to what it was? How am I ever going to get back to that status of HaKadosh Baruch Hu speaking to me as if I'm a prophet, in the highest form of prophecy possible? Came in Bnei Yisrael, and this is the expression of Klal Yisrael, shuka, their desire to cling to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Milibam yotziu milim, for their hearts are pouring out with words. Kinedabrim beinehem leben atzmam, like they're talking to themselves, right? Like, oh, I wish I could go back. I wish I could do that. How did I give that up? She remembers, we're reminiscing the love that HaKadosh Baruch Hu displayed to us at Har Sinai. Asher and that was the best experience possible. There is no other experience that could even come close to the experience of closeness to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Okay? Even that yayin makes a person happy. Wine gladdens the heart, right? I'll close that with all of that. Like you gave me all these other things, Hashem. You gave me all these great things in my life, but that's not really what I want, right? Samachti bedodecha. I was the most rejoiced, the most joy that I ever will have is when I am in a state of dveikus, of clinging to you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Gedola yoter mikol ta'anugei ha'olam hazeh, and that is the greatest pleasure in all of the worldly pleasures that exist, because there is no worldly pleasure that can even come close to the fleeting minutes of dveikus that we have when we're davening, when we're at a makom kadosh, when we're, if you ever go to, either something like what they have in Lag BaOmer, but you have thousands of Yidden who are all singing together, tens of thousands of Yidden who are all singing together. It's just an unbelievable experience, right? Where you're like, you don't know where you are, right? And the minute it's over, but there's a tremendous pleasure, right? Tremendous pleasure of being in joint harmony and singing and all being focused right now on HaKadosh Baruch Hu, each person according to their ability, right? Some people can concentrate more, some people can concentrate less. That's not the point. The point is that the so many people together singing, right, singing praises of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is a tremendous thing, right? They have these beautiful things on Rosh Chodesh in Yrushalayim. They had it once here. They brought it here, I think, on Rosh Chodesh Kislev, where they have a women's Hallel, right? It's the most amazing thing where we sat next to each other, right? You have in Yrushalayim, here we had a nice amount of women too, right? In Yrushalayim, you have a couple hundred women, right? Maybe even 1,000 women, right? Who are singing Hallel together. It's an experience, it's a tremendous experience of dveikus, right? It's a tremendous experience of dveikus. And it's more pleasurable than winning the lottery, okay? It is. I think so. I never won the lottery, but I'm pretty sure it is, right? Unless the person is going to turn that winning of the lottery into a praise and dveikus or HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But there's the power of people, there's the power of song, and then there's the power of dveikus, which is the most powerful pleasure and potent pleasure that there is in this world. So in this pasuk, we're saying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that said, you made a world full of pleasures, beautiful things, art, flowers, song, music, everything, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, food, clothing. There's so much beauty. There's so many pleasures in the world. But you know what I pick? You, Hashem. So, and this is really, in a certain sense, what we want to say every day. When we start off our day, after we wash Negel Vaser, we say some psukim. And one of the psukim that we say is, Vatem hadvekim b'Hashem Elokechem, Chayim kulchem hayom. Vatem, right now, right? We are dveikim. This minute is an opportunity for dveikus. Every minute is an opportunity for dveikus. Vatem hadveikim b'Hashem Elokechem, Chayim. And this is what it means to be alive. What does it mean to be alive? To feel alive is to have this feeling of dveikus, of being attached, of being glued, right? Great word, being glued to Hashem. And not just any glue, right? Because there's all different types of glue. There's Elmer's crazy glue, right? Monkey glue, I think they even, right? There's this thing called monkey glue. Gorilla glue, right? Gorilla glue, right? We want super glue, right? Hot glue, right? Whatever it is, not the cheap imitation Elmer's, right? Or when we were little, we used to put it on paste, right? Did you ever paste on your hand and peel it off, right? I don't even think that. We did a lot of stuff with paste besides pasting, but we want super glue or monkey glue or gorilla glue or whatever it's called, right? The best glue there is. That's what you want. Because that's what life is. Life is that dveikus of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The factory of Coca-Cola is by one of the entrances of Bnei Brak, right? And Coca-Cola has a label, Ham Shel Chaim. That's their motto, right? It's the taste of life. And Rav Chaim, I think the Stipler or Rav Chaim Kanievsky, I don't remember who's the father of the son. And anyways, made them take it off of their banner by the factory, What do you mean Coca-Cola is the time of Chaim? That Coke is that gives taste to life, right? Kashmir, Hevel Havolim, Hakol Hevel Amar Hashem, right? No way. Torah is the time of the Chaim, right? Torah is the taste of life. Torah is what gives us, because through Torah we come to cling to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We know HaKadosh Baruch Hu through Torah. And so HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us tremendous outlets for dvekus. All of the mitzvos are opportunities for us to say, Hashem, I want you. But for that, we have to have kavan. We have to have intention, right? Because we can do the mitzvah and do it just because we did the mitzvah, just like we brush our teeth, just like you make your bed, just like you do things and you don't even think about it, right? It's like autopilot, right? The mitzvahs, if we do them autopilot, there's no dvekus. And when there's no dvekus in them, there's no chayim, there's no life in them. And then we start to wonder, well, like, why do I do this, right? What do I need to do this for? What do I need to not do this for? Huh? Okay, so when we feel that way, that's a signal saying dvekus. So within the mitzvahs, right? And there are tefillos that we say before we do mitzvahs, where we ask Hashem to help us to be mechavein, to have kavana, to have to do it with all the sodot, all the secrets, and all of the depth, and all of the kavanas that we don't understand, but we want to be mechavein to it because we want to do it with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, not as a separate just brushing our teeth, right? Brushing your teeth is a great thing to do, right? And if you want, you can even have kavanah when you're brushing your teeth, right? That I'm taking care of the teeth that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave me. I want to be able to smile to other people and give them that gift, right? And I don't want them to see black, right? I don't want them, right? Okay, and I don't want to be mefarnes my dentist, okay? I'd rather give the money to tzedakah. Whatever you want, you can put kavanahs into that too, but I'm talking about specifically mitzvahs. Mitzvahs need kavanah, and that kavanah is the dvekus, because that's the point of the mitzvah. The reason why we don't do boyer on Shabbos, the reason why we don't touch muktzah on Shabbos, the reason why we don't do anything that we do is all because it's supposed to bring us to a higher consciousness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's presence in every minute of our lives. Okay, everyone should have a chag chodesh tov, chag sameach.
Women are
Thank you.
level of them men.